Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and my next guest will be back in action April the 12th for PFL when he takes on JJ Wilson in Las Vegas. And of course, it is the bomb himself, Adam Piccolotti, on the show. Adam, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
Nice to talk to you. And first thing that kind of jumps out to me preparing for this interview is it's been a while since you fought, man. It's a year. So tell me the layoff. I can't imagine you've wanted to be away this long.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely didn't want to be off this long. My Bellator contract and kind of my time with them had kind of naturally came to a close after my last Mandel Nalo fight. Um, I was looking to see what some other options were, and we found the PFL. They gave me the opportunity to jump in as an alternate last August. And jumping in as an alternate in the semifinals, I was like, this is an opportunity I got to take. If somebody pulls out, I win a fight. I'm fighting for $1 million. So I was the alternate with my fingers crossed, but nothing happened. And so, man, since then it's been a little bit of a waiting game. They were talking about offering me, showcase fight, this and that, and I was like, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please. It didn't pan out, and so here we are, the new year and in the new tournament. So even though it's been a bit of a layoff, I'm excited to at least be in a good spot.
So for as far as like the contractual obligations and all that go, is this essentially like it's a fight to fight deal? You're not like on a long-term deal or anything.
I'm in a long-term deal just in the sense of the tournament, right? So
Mhm.
it's just like you sign like a tournament contract, then on top of the tournament contract, you sign, individual bout agreements.
And the good thing is if you win this tournament, it's a lot of money that you'll be cashing in, my man. What do you
100%.
what do you think of just like the merger, PFL acquiring Bellator? There's so many more great fighters for each promotion that, potentially, maybe you're going to be competing against. Like, do you like what they're doing? And do you feel like, this is going to be like a huge thing for MMA moving forward to kind of close that gap with the UFC?
Yeah, the merger is great. The fights are already super exciting. Like the Bellator versus PFL fight that happened was that a couple weeks back. Like that was super fun. Obviously they still have their tournament format. They have those Bellator championship format series. So it seems like it's a lot of really good things, really big fights, exciting fights. I will say it kind of puts some of the guys that were like in the middle of the roster a little bit in a sticky situation. I think there's been probably, if I had to guess, a good amount of cuts going on and stuff like that. And without there being any kind of like other spots to go to, it's kind of I think put some people in a little bit of a bad situation. But in terms of like the product that PFL is now bringing, it's better than it's ever been. And I think it's we're a clear cut top promotion in the world now.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. When you look at where you're at in your career, Adam, I mean, you're clearly a guy with a good record. You got a good name. People know who you are. They respect you as a fighter. You've done a lot of things in the sport. You're 35 now, if I'm not mistaken. Do you feel still like your best days are ahead of you?
Yeah, I've always first of all, thank you for those compliments. I'll take those all the time. Um, I've always felt that I've been a late bloomer, physically, mentally, everything, right? Like when I was starting with Bellator, I was such a young gun, and you always kind of look back on those times and think about, what could I've done better, this and this and this, and I think there was a lot of maturing that I had to do back then, where I think I've kind of like really come into my own. The good thing about it though is I haven't had many barn burners, right? I haven't had any big, you know, really hard scraps where I'm taking a bunch of punishment. So even though I'm getting there in age, I feel like my fight age is still a lot younger than my age looks like on paper.
That makes sense. And you see like athletes, even in MMA, but you see it in other sports. I'm from New England. I'm a huge Tom Brady Patriots fan, and he
Hell yeah.
competed at the top of the game until he was in his mid 40s. Do you feel like that's going to be the case with you? Like you might be hanging around another 10 years, maybe?
I mean, we'll see. I love the sport so much that obviously that's what I would want to do if it was up to me. I would. It's also like it's kind of that thing where you start to get up in age and you actually finally start to make enough money to kind of like make a living out of it, right? So if I could keep fighting and keep getting the paychecks and keep grabbing belts and stuff like that, I would absolutely love to. What I won't do is kind of just hang around just to hang around, right? I think that's a really sad story for some people. I have an amazing family, I have an amazing wife and son, and And when the time comes, I think I'll know, and it'll be time to hang him up. But I mean, until then, we're full throttle. Like, truth be told, too, like my training has been better than it's ever been, and and I've actually like been sustaining less injuries than I ever have. Let me knock on some wood. You know, I had a bit of a stint there where like looking back on my career, I was almost like, oh man, Bellator didn't fight me often enough. But then looking back at it like in more detail, I I had to realize and reflect that a lot of those were me getting hurt in training camp even before I had anything booked, right? Not even necessarily like a public pullout or anything like that, but just getting banged up. You know, I had a herniated back, I had some shoulder surgery, some knee surgery, but like man, the past couple of years I've been like I think the most durable that I have been. And I think again that's me being a late bloomer and finally coming into my, you know, quote unquote man strength and being really the most physically prepared I've been.
What do you do for recovery, and how much of an emphasis do you put on that to make sure you take care of your body and the healing process to kind of bounce back from training?
Um, you know, the kind of the basic things that everyone's doing these days, ice baths. I got a hot tub in the backyard. My wife's amazing at rubbing on me, working my shoulders, working my neck. And I have amazing he's a chiropractor, but he's so much more. He does body work, tissue work, and all that kind of thing. I think that coupled with just like super healthy living throughout the year, right? I'm not a partier per se. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll go out and have a good time from time to time, but um you know, not kind of like, you know, slowly poisoning yourself every day with alcohol or stuff like that. I think that makes a big factor. So just I just try to stay healthy year round, and I think that has been really helping me to stay, you know, physically healthy as well, like durable and not getting those injuries and stuff.
When you do decide to walk away, whenever that is, have you thought about, what you're going to do post fighting career? Is there anything maybe that the general public doesn't know about you that you'd like to jump into?
I've always kind of dabbled with different ideas, right? Like it's weird, man. Being a professional athlete and a professional fighter, it's like you live this life so hard that, you know, sometimes during fight camp, I'll see some Joe Schmo who's working like a regular job. No offense to anybody, but and I'll be like, oh man, like I'm so jealous of that. If I could just clock in 9 to 5 and be out, you know, like some weird part of me gets like almost like jealous of that. So I've always thought about certain things like outside of fighting, like for example, like always the utmost respect for firefighters. I
Hmm.
feel like that's a very physical activity that I would find myself happy doing. But it would have to be something like that. I'm so physical and I'm so engulfed in this life that it would have to be something that keeps me challenged physically and mentally. But I mean, besides that, it's more the boring answer, which is I love to teach. You know, I love having an academy. I recently started. I took over the jiu-jitsu program at CSA Combat Sports Academy, so I got a crew of people that I look after now, and you know, I just took them to a tournament this past weekend, and I could easily see myself doing that for the rest of my life as well.
Very cool. Makes sense. Tell me just your takeaways from your last fight, round three victory, RNC over a tough opponent, Mandel Nalo, right? That's a big win for you. How would you assess that performance?
I was pretty happy with it. I knew he was a big striker. I knew he was going to come out kicking and punching a bunch. And you know, if you follow me at all, you know that my striking has become honestly one of my strong weapons at this point. It's not even that it's caught up to my jiu-jitsu, but it's also very strong. I feel super confident in my striking. So kind of getting the experience of being out there, moving around with a guy like him and dealing with his strikes and still finding my way to make it happen. I was happy with my performance. Obviously, I would have liked to finish him earlier. But the fact that I was able to, you know, neutralize all of his attacks and eventually take him to the ground and find my finish. I was super happy with the performance.
Yeah, as you should be, man. Good performance over a tough guy. And all due respect to him, right? But like, does he have the worst nickname in all of MMA? Rat garbage? Like it's
I would have to agree with that, man. And yeah, he's got a wild Instagram and an interesting nickname. Yeah, he was a fun one to kind of look into and prepare for.
no doubt. What's the cut like for you to 155 these days? How big do you get outside of like camp?
Oh man, cuts always suck, no matter how you break it down. But I don't get much over 180. You know, that's kind of like my tops, and that 180, 185 is like, you know, a little bit of extra that comes off super easy during training. I try to train hard, and when I'm training hard, I'm down to like, you know, mid 70s, kind of roll into fight camp or fight week about, 170, 72, something like that. So the cut always is going to suck. It's like, in quotes, the easiest part because it's very scientific. You know exactly what to do. It's not like there's all these abstract factors thrown at you like fighting, but it's the hardest part mentally, man. It's just miserable.
Tell me, training partners to help get you ready for JJ. Anyone specific that can kind of mimic him and his style for this fight?
I've been getting some extra work in over at Kyle Terra's Jiu-Jitsu Academy. So the guys over there are just, amazing grapplers. A bunch of them are preparing for ADCC. First thing that comes to my mind is Benji Silva. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, and we've been just getting extra work in together, making sure their grappling is on point. And on top of that, I'm always working my striking with Gaston Bolaños. That's my brother, and we've just been taking that stuff to the next level. There's always a ton of good guys at AKA. The Russians always kind of coming and going, so I haven't got them as much this camp, but I always have good rounds and good fights over there at AKA too. So it's been good.
What's the weather like in Cali?
Oh, we got some sun. We got some sun. I'm in Moss Beach though. Moss Beach is like right on the coast, and it's like 90% of the year is foggy, right? So like this is kind of like a sweet time for us. It gets a little bit chilly, but it's nice.
I used to live in Culver City for a few years. I worked in Malibu, so I'm pretty familiar with Southern California. I miss it. I really do. I'm up here in New England now. It's cold, it's
Yeah,
rainy, it sucks. So I miss the
yeah,
West Coast.
yeah. We're pretty lucky out here.
For sure. One thing I always find interesting too, right? Because this is the fight game. Injuries happen, fights fall out. There's a lot of marquee lightweight bouts on this card. So have you been kind of thinking, like where you're looking at other guys, mentally maybe preparing if a fight falls out and, maybe they have to match you with someone else? Is that something that you think about?
A little bit, now that the tournament, I mean, for sure, like when I found out I was officially in the tournament and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, who's going to be in it? It could be any of these guys. It's such a diverse skill sets of people out there. But now that the brackets are set, it's a little bit more set in stone. And if say JJ does get hurt, like I know there's a couple alternates they got listed, and I know even if that falls through, they're gonna have handfuls of guys that they can throw in there. So a little bit, but right now my focus is definitely on JJ.
Do you see this fight going deep into the contest, or is this a fight where you think you can get him out of there early? He's had a lot of decisions, win or loss lately. So, just what are you thinking about as far as the length of the
Yeah.
fight?
Well, the way the preparation's been, it's definitely good trying to get that first round finish, right? With the point system and everything in effect of the tournament. I think that's definitely everybody's goal. And I know he's a scrapper, like he's down to strike and he's down to try to throw up some submissions. So yeah, I could definitely see myself getting the upper hand in one of the two scenarios, and him kind of like, getting almost overly aggressive and finding something. So I'm looking for that first round finish. That's all the training's been. First round, second round finish. That's what we're searching for.
And obviously, that's what you want, right? That's how you get the most points. But at the end of the day, you want to get your hand raised. What is that balance like, just to make sure that you're going for a finish, but you're also careful you don't put yourself in a position where you could get clipped and finished.
Absolutely. It's what you said. It's a balance, right? So it's like I have to be aggressive, but you're right. It's the end of the day. It's getting that victory, and I know myself when I'm in that cage, I'm going to be playing a smart game. It's like I tell my students, you're not preparing for 3 5 minute rounds. You're preparing for 15 minutes of battle, right? So even though there's a minute break in between each, like all the things that are happening in round one are going to affect how they happen in round two, round three, so on. So, you know, it depends. It depends how I feel the guy out. Maybe I crack him early. Maybe I feel like, oh, his striking's a little bit more, well developed than I'm anticipating, and I need to take this a little bit slower in a sense, and maybe work the body, work the legs. So it's definitely a mix, and I'm trying to incorporate it in my training. Getting, one day doing 3 rounds with one guy, one day doing 3 rounds with completely different people each round, one day doing two and two, and just kind of getting a bit of a variety in the way that I'm pushing, because you definitely don't want to put the foot on the gas for the whole first 5 minutes. So then if the finish doesn't come, kind of be, left high and dry. So yeah, it's kind of like a we'll see type of situation.
Gotcha. I know you're completely focused on JJ, right? But when you just look at the other fighters in the tournament, is there anyone that you got your eyes on that you're hoping to get in there and test yourself against?
Oh, just whoever's going to be in the finals with me. But no, I will say since being the alternate, I've always had my eye on Clay Collard. He's been there. He's fun. He likes to throw a lot, and I think my striking will match up very well with his, and I think the ground game obviously will be very dominant. So yeah, Clay's always been one that he's got a high profile and he likes to fight. So I definitely want to fight somebody who wants to fight.
Yeah, sign me up for that one. Looking forward to this, man. Give me an official prediction. How does this fight end?
First round TKO.
I love it. April 12th,
So,
Adam the Bomb Piccolotti faces JJ Wilson in Las Vegas for PFL. Great talking to you, man. Great interview. Appreciate your time today. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. If there's anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank, floor is yours.
right on. Thank you, man. First of all, appreciate you having me on as well. It's been a pleasure of mine. But I just got to thank all my coaches, my team, everybody at AKA, everybody at CSA, Raul Castillo. All those guys. I wouldn't be here. It's an individual sport, but it's very much team orientated. Verdura Construction, he's always been supportive to me. So big thanks to him. And my management, the whole Iridium team, they've been taking care of me. So big shout out to all those guys and thank you, man. Appreciate it.